A reference angle is the shortest distance to the angle that's closest to the x-axis. So it's the smallest angle that you can create with the x-axis, okay? So therefore, depending upon what quadrant you're in, we're gonna find it a different way, okay? So let's look at A. Show me with your fingers what quadrant is 220 degrees. Quadrant 3. So this is in Q3. So let's look at this clip art, this first one. So an angle in Q3, you see, well, yours is not in color, but this would represent the angle. All right, but if I'm looking for the reference angle, that would just be this little bitty piece right here in quadrant 3. So when you look at the second thing that you glue down, oops, it tells you the formula for how do you find the reference angle in Q3. So it says to find the reference angle in Q3, you would take the angle minus 180. That's how you would find the reference angle if it's in Q3. So let me go ahead and zoom back out. Let's come over here. So because it's in Q3, we're going to take 220 minus 180. Go ahead and do that.
Does the reference angle have signs?
No. You mean like, is it a positive or negative?
Yeah.
No, that's a good question. The reference angle, two things about the reference angle. It should always be positive, and it should be less than 90 degrees. Okay, so if you get a reference angle that is 95, you did that wrong. It has to be less than 90 degrees, and it has to be positive. So what you should get is positive 40 degrees. That would be my reference angle. For a 220 degree angle, the reference angle is 40 degrees, which simply means that a 220 degree angle and a 40 degree angle would have the same sine and cosine, except the if it's positive or negative would change. All right, now let's look at question B. So any questions about A? All right, so now let's look at B. Show me with your fingers. What quadrant is 115 degrees? All right, good. So looking at quadrant 2, see, this is a visual of what it looks like. This will be my angle, but the reference angle is just this little bitty piece. All right, so that means I just need to figure out how much further do I need to go to get to the x-axis. So the formula that we're going to use, looking at your second cutout, notice it says in quadrant 2, you take the angle, in quadrant 2, you take 180 minus the angle. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're in Q2. So I want you to take 180 and subtract from that 115 and see what you get. And it should be, again, it should be positive. It should be less than 90. So did you get an angle less than 90? All right, what did you all get? 65. Who got 65 degrees? All right, you are correct. That is your reference angle. All right, now let's look at question C. For question C, we have a 35 degree angle. Show me what quadrant we're in if it's 35 degrees. All right, good. Any angle in Q1, that is your reference angle. So if you look at your two diagrams, we don't have to do any formulas. The angle is the reference angle. All right? So there isn't anything we need to add or subtract. If it's in Q1, that's my answer. So my answer would be 35 degrees. That's my reference angle. All right, 295. Show me with your fingers. Where is 295? All right, good. What does the formula tell you to do in Q4? Yep, it says take 360 minus the angle. So you have to do 360 minus 295. That's the only time we use 360. If it's in Q4, we use 360. If it's in quadrant 2, we do 180 minus the angle. Quadrant 3, this the angle minus 180. But in quadrant 4, we use 360. So take 360 minus 295. And you should get 65 degrees. Anybody get 65? All right, so that would be my answer. All right, now let's talk about a negative angle. If you get an angle that's negative, the first thing I want you to do is change it to a positive. All right, so how would I change this to a positive? What do I need to do? Add who? 360, let's do it. All right, and because they're different signs, you're really subtracting that. You're subtracting 105 from 360. Go ahead and do that. So if it's negative, you have to start by changing it to a positive. Is it 155? 255? Is it 255? All right, 255. All right, so it's 255 degrees. So a negative 105 is the same thing as 255. So now that it's positive, show me with your fingers what quadrant we're in for a 255. Quadrant 3. Quadrant 3. So what does it tell you to do when you're in Q3? What's the formula? Is it the angle minus 180 or is it 180 minus the angle? So let's take that angle, which is 255. Subtract 180. And I got 75 degrees. So I got 75 degrees for question E. That would be my reference angle. All right, any questions about reference angles? That's like a little one-day lesson. We're not gonna hit that again. But it is on our test. Are we good? All right, go ahead and copy down example 2. A. So you always start off by trying to figure out what quadrant we are in. They gave you 2 hints. Using those 2 hints, you have to figure out what quadrant we are in. So they told us 2 things. They said sine is positive, and they told us cosine is also positive. So what quadrant are we in? What quadrant has a positive sine and a positive cosine? Quadrant 1. So because we're in Q1, we just have to remember everything is positive. It is all positive. All right, so we know that sine, going back to another cutout that we had earlier in the week, sine is the same as y over r. And cosine is the same as x over r. A triangle has 3 sides, x, y, and r. We have all 3 sides. So I know that my x is going to be 2 root 5. I know y is square root of 5, and I know r is 5. So let's find the other 4. They told us 2. Let's find the other 4. I think the easiest to do would be to find secant and cosecant. So let's go ahead and find, we'll start off with cosecant. So cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, which means it's r over y, which means that it would be 5 over root 5. Sorry. I had my brain froze for a minute. But we have a problem, right? And the problem is we cannot leave a radical in our denominator. So what do I have to do?
You have to multiply by the square root.
Yeah, we got to multiply by the square root of 5. Let's do that. So what that's going to give me is 5 root 5 over 5. And now these can go away. So my final answer for cosecant is just the square root of 5.
Are you going to take place off of simplify?
Yes. All right, now let's find the secant. The secant is r over x. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to take our r value and put it over x. Same thing, we have to multiply by the square root of 5. So what I have in the bottom, when I multiply these together, I just get a 5. So what I have is 5 over 10. Well, I'm just going to leave it that way. Cross out the 5s. So my final answer would be root 5 over 2. That's my secant. All right, let's find tangent. Tangent of theta. That's y over x. So y over x would be the square root of 5 over 2 square root of 5. Now keep in mind, there is an invisible 1 right here. So when I cancel this out, I'm left with 1/2. And then the cotangent of theta, that is x over y, which is 2 root 5 over root 5. When I cancel these out, I'm just left with a 2. And that's the other 4. So they gave us 2, and we had to use those 2 to find the last four. Any questions? All right, we only have a couple more and then we will wrap it up for today and do our unit circle again. All right, I'm skipping over B. Let's just go to C. This one goes pretty fast. So we know sine is negative 4/5 and cosine is positive 3/5. All right, so they gave us two clues. They said sine is negative and cosine is positive. Sine is negative, cosine is positive. Show me with your fingers. Where are we at? What quadrant are we in? Sine is negative, cosine is positive. We are in quadrant 4. Quadrant 3, both sine and cosine are negative. So we're in quadrant 4. So that's really important because in quadrant 4, the only positive values I have are cosine and secant. Everything else should be negative. Now, they gave us all three sides of our triangle again. Sine is y over r. Cosine is x over r. Ignore the positive and negatives. All right, just put those in at the end. So what that means is I'm using x equals 3, y equals 4, and r equals 5. Go ahead and find the other 4. I put, okay. My brain is shutting down. All right, go ahead and check your 4 answers. So we know that cosecant is the sister to sine. So all we had to do was flip sine, right? Secant is the sister to cosine. So we just flip cosine. And you have to remember, tangent is y over x and cosine is x over y. What did I say? I said tangent and cosine. I don't know. Tangent is y over x and cotangent is x over y. My brain is like literally powering down like about a second. I apologize.
How did you get negative? Because
So,
I got 5/4, just saying.
What quadrant did we say we were in?
4.
And in quadrant 4, the only thing positive would be cosine and the sister to cosine.
Oh, okay.
That's it. Everything else is negative. All right, next example. Wait a minute, is this the one? Yeah. All right, go ahead and copy this one down. Still under example 2. And if you want to copy down that clip art that I have there, but I just use what we know about all students take calc. It's the same thing. Okay, here is the magic question. I'm always scared when I ask this question though. I don't know why. All right, show me with your fingers. Where are we? What quadrant are we in? They gave us 2 clues. What quadrant do you think we are in? I agree. I agree with you. I agree. I agree. I agree. All of you who are saying 3, it is 3. Because we all agree that this is positive. So tangent is only positive in these 2 places. But cosine is negative here. So this is really important because I know that I am in quadrant 3 and that my only positive values are going to be the cotangent and the tangent. The other 4 should be negative. Now they did not tell us everything we need to know though. Okay. What is cotangent? What 2 sides do we use to find cotangent? Is it x over r? Is it y over x? Is it, what is it? X over y. Good. And we learned yesterday to find r, we have to find r. R is going to equal x squared plus, well, r squared equals x squared plus y squared. That's how you find r. So using what we know, r squared is going to equal 4 squared plus 3 squared. Now this is a Pythagorean triple. So if you recognize that it's a triple and you don't need to do this, I understand because this is a very common triple. So take a couple minutes and solve that for r. Ooh, poor Daniel. Daniel tired. Help him out, y'all. He leaning. Leaning over. All right, who got r is 5? So we know that when I'm doing my ratios, I know that x is going to be 4. I know y is 3. And I know r is 5. So let's go ahead and write the other 4. So let's start off with tangent. So the tangent of the angle is going to be what? What is the tangent going to be? 3 over 4. Because tangent is y over x. All right, now let's move on to cosine. What is cosine? X over what? R. X is 4, R is 5, so this is 4/5. But we have to make it negative though, because we're in Q3. The sister to cosine is secant, which is the same thing as R over X. So that is going to be a negative 5/4. All right, next is sine. Sine is Y over R, which is going to be 3/5, but it has to be negative. And then lastly, we have our cosecant. That's 5/3, and it has to be negative. All right, we got one more, and then we are done for today. Tomorrow, just a reminder, okay, couple of announcements. Let me see, does anybody need more time to copy this down? All right, couple of announcements while you copy down our last one. Number one, I don't know if you all saw in Canvas, I sent you an email or whatever. I moved the due date for homework 2. So homework 2 is now due Friday. Homework 3 is due Tuesday. Now, because I moved it up, I am offering extra credit. Now, I will not penalize you if you turn in homework 2 on Tuesday, but you will not earn the extra credit. And I'm giving 5 points extra credit. I'm going over it on Friday, though. I'm going over it Friday. And then Tuesday, I'm going to go over homework 3. And then next Wednesday, we have our first quiz. A week from today is our first quiz, okay? I'm passing out the study guide tomorrow. Homework, quiz. I feel like it was one more thing I was supposed to tell you, but it's gone because I'm buffering down. I don't know. All right, here we go. All right, good question. I wrote up here everything that is going to be on your skills check, and that is tomorrow. Maybe that's the other thing I wanted to say. I think that was the other thing, is that tomorrow we have a skills check, and I did tell you this has been up there since Monday. What's on there? So y'all came. Listen, I'm trying to help you out, okay? All right, here we go. First question. What quadrant are we in? That's always our first question. I need to know where we are, because you have to figure out what are we going to keep positive. So it told us tangent is positive, sine is less than 0, which means it's negative. So that means we are in quadrant what? Quadrant 3. So we are in Q3, and in Q3, the only positives are going to be our tangent and our cotangent. All right, so we know y and we know x, but we need to find r. So r is going to equal, let's go ahead and find it. This time we will not get a whole number though. We're going to get a decimal. So r squared equals 2 squared plus 1 squared. R squared equals 4 plus 1. R equals the square root of 5. So we didn't get a nice, pretty number. So when we're writing our ratios, we know x is 2. I know y is 1. And I know r is the square root of 5. All right, let's do it. Let's find our other 5. So I'm going to freeze my screen, and then I want you all to do it on your own, because you have to start memorizing these ratios.